And then we get to finish off with the great Al Michaels, who I believe is set to join us right now. Is that right, Tom?
Pierogies and Al Michaels.
Yeah.
All set.
Pierogies, kielbasa, and Al Michaels, of course, in the same sentence. Good morning, Al. How you doing?
No vegetables, Dan. You know that. None. None. No, sir.
It did shock me the first couple of times I sat down to have dinner with you at the Olympics, and when they were trying to bring even parsley and put it on your plate, you're like, no, nothing green on this plate.
No, I don't want the vestiges of it. You know, sometimes you'll throw a tomato out there, and a tomato leaks, and there's a little bit of juice. You know, the other day I had breakfast at a place, and you know, the tomato derivatives got into the eggs, and you know, I'm a pain in the ass in restaurants, trust me. But you know, otherwise I'll sit there and starve to death.
The full introduction, Amazon Prime Video, Thursday night, play-by-play voice, a Hall of Fame broadcaster. And if you were going to write a storyline, if I said that's the storyline prior to the start of the game, Al, what would you have told me?
All I know is that at the end of the game, I should have said, "Do you believe in Mayfield?" I mean, it was when we heard about it on Tuesday. We're going, "Well, there's no way." And then Sean McVay was telling us in the meeting that there's a possibility, and he got to town on Tuesday night at 9:00. It's a schlep between LAX and where the Rams train out in the Thousand Oaks area. He got to the facility at about 9:00, met with the coaches, put him up at a hotel that night, came back to the facility, worked out. On Wednesday, practiced with the team, you know, introduced himself to the guys. And then Sean said that, hey, we'll see. There's a chance that at least we'll suit him up. And the Rams had, they had John Wolford, who had played pretty well against Seattle the week before. And they started him last night, and I had a chance to talk to Sean actually last night after the game, and he said he wanted Wolford in there to see what kind of defense Vegas was going to play. He also wanted to see what the crowd would sound like because, you know, crazily enough, more than half the fans were probably Raider fans last night. And then he saw it, and they went 3-and-out, and he said, well, why not? Let's bring him in, and he kept him in the whole game. But, no, Dan, there's no way we could have envisioned this, and, of course, there's absolutely no way you can see a 98-yard drive with a minute and a half and no timeouts. And I was listening to Sean Salisbury on the show, you know, a little while ago, and it's true. I mean, at a certain point, you're reacting. And, I mean, it's almost like you're out on the street and you're going, hey, listen, you run down to the fire hydrant and make a left, and I'll hit you. And that last drive was sensational and obviously helped a lot by that personal foul penalty on Jerry Tillery.
But did you guys have access to Baker Mayfield prior to the game?
We did. Yeah, he was out at practice on Wednesday, and then last night Kirk and I had a nice chance to visit with him on the field for about 10 minutes. And what struck me, I mean, he was up and he was ready and he was optimistic, and you know he thought it could be a good night for him. He also had a wristband, and I think we showed it at one point on the telecast. I don't know how you read it without a microscope. I don't. And I think it was the type was so small. I mean, there's agatype, and then there's mini agatype. And I'm looking at this thing going, I mean, and I said on the air, I said, even Ted Williams would have had, who was, of course, heralded, among other things, for having the best eyesight in the world, would have trouble reading it. But it was amazing. You know, he got in there. He felt confident. I mean, can you imagine if he had the full complement of guys with him? You know, an offensive line that, you know, obviously has been in disarray, had a few penalties last night. And what if he had Cooper Kupp? But he didn't have any of those guys, and yet he found Van Jefferson. He found Skoranek. They were able to do enough on the ground, and it was one of those amazing nights. It was one of those things where, you know, I said before the game, I said this could be you can't make this up night. Not thinking it would be, and then it turned out to be.
Best team you've seen so far this year is who? Well, we had Philadelphia, but we had them at Houston, and the Texans took them, into the fourth quarter. So they may have been looking past that game or whatever. But on the Thursday night games, Dan, we only get a team one time. So we see them either at their best or at their worst or somewhere in between. So it's hard to say, but we had Tennessee at Green Bay. I thought they looked really good that night. Now I'm not quite sure exactly what they are. We'll get them against Dallas, I think, in week 17. So there's nobody that I can say right now is really so far ahead of everybody. I know that the Eagles have the best record. Obviously, I've seen a lot of their games on television and the rest. But I mean, for the moment, I think I'd have to put them on top.
The ambiance in there when you're doing play-by-play, but then the public address announcer is doing his job. How difficult is it to do play-by-play when you have to compete with the public address announcer?
Fortunately, we have a headset on. Our audio people are fantastic, and they're able to, at least in our ears, block out a lot of that. But I have sat in that building not doing a game, and your eardrums split. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, get off my lawn kind of crap. Listen, Dan, if you can't talk to the person next to you, I don't get it. I don't get the screaming. I mean, last night, the doors opened up at like 4 o'clock or 3:30 for a 5:15 game, and he screamed into the doors are opening. Our house is open. What? There's nobody in the stadium, Dan. There's nobody in the stadium. And, this our house thing is like crazy stuff, especially in a town where there are a lot of people who come in and, make L.A. a destination when the visiting team comes in. And I said on the air last night, I said, I don't know whose house it is. I mean, the Rams think it's their house. But for the Raiders, this might as well be an Airbnb because you had at least 50% of the crowd in Raider gear and rooting for the Raiders.
What's the loudest stadium you can remember? Any sport.
That's pretty close. I think this one is right up at the top for. You know what it is, Dan? Look, I grew up in New York, and the New York fan is sophisticated. And, spending a lot of time in Philadelphia, those people are reacting genuinely. They're not Pavlov's dogs with a bunch of junk up on a big screen going, make noise. And these phony, the sound meters are up there. That's not a real sound meter. That's a phony cartoon. One of the things I love about sports is the real noise when the fans get it. And as I say, as a kid growing up in New York, New Yorkers, they love sports. They understand the nuance of the game. The cheering and booing is at the very appropriate time. It's not some garbage going make noise. What do you mean make noise? What is that supposed to do? I guess jam the signals of the opposing team, but it doesn't. Everybody's got a silent count anyway. But anyway, that's my feeling. I love natural crowd noise when the crowd gets into it, and the crowd is riding the rhythm of the game, what's happening on the field, as opposed to just screaming their guts out.
You had all of those marquee games on Sunday night for such a long period of time, and then you kind of look at the Thursday night schedule there. Not that you get to pick it; you still have to do the games, but the difference of knowing that something's going to be a great game as opposed to hoping that something's going to be a great game.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, there's no question. We only get each team once. I think we get Tennessee because of the vagary in the schedule. We get them twice this year, but every other team we get one time. So I'm missing the constant contact. Like last year on Sunday, we had Kansas City 5 times.
Yeah,
we had them 3 times plus a flex plus the playoffs, and had they gotten to the Super Bowl, that would have been a 6. So certain teams inside out. The one thing I will say, though, this year, and obviously we've had some okay games. We've had some games that were not very good. But I thought about this the other day. 12 months ago or 10 months ago, Amazon had no infrastructure. There was nothing. No personnel, no cameras, no equipment, nothing. And now all of a sudden, here we are 10 months later, and I think, I'm proud to say that I think these games are the quality and look like the same as they do on NBC or Fox or ESPN or CBS. We have Fred Gaudelli with us, who's been our producer at NBC for all of those years and at ABC before we all went over in '06. And, I think the quality of the telecast, what it looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like, will match it up with anybody. So, I mean,
to be able to pull that off in 10 months, to me, is really spectacular. They've done a great job. And, look, Amazon was intent on making this look like anything but a rinky-dink secondary telecast. And they've done it. They've gone out and they've proved it, and they have a big 11-year investment and want to make this great. And I think my personal feelings, the people they put together on the pregame show, great. Everybody's got a great point of view. They're smart. You got Richard Sherman and Andrew Whitworth and Tony Gonzalez, and Ryan Fitzpatrick is fabulous. Carissa Thompson's done a great job. So they put together a pregame show that, to me, is exciting, is relevant, is current, and I'm proud of what's gone on over the last 10 months there.
Good to talk to you as always. Hope you're well, and we'll talk to you soon.
We have to, Dano. Maybe before the holidays if you want. Otherwise, after Groundhog Day, we'll be fine. Anytime you guys want. You got it.
Thank you, buddy.
Take care, bud.
That's Al Michaels, the Hall of Fame broadcaster. Amazon Prime Video Thursday night.